For Body Chemistry Associates and Health Connection Radio, I'm your host, Jay Foster. Today we want to talk about minerals in general and the minerals that are missing in our soils. We have widespread mineral deficiencies, and they have even been linked with different health conditions. For instance, in areas where there's a magnesium deficiency relative to the rest of the country, they have a higher heart disease rate. With selenium deficiencies, you have more of a cancer risk, higher rates of certain cancers. And, of course, the goiter belt up north is iodine deficient, and many people developed goiter, and actually that's why they added iodine to table salt, not just for them, but for everybody. So the fact that there are these mineral deficiencies, I mean, they weren't there forever. 1,000 years ago, maybe a few hundred years ago, we had lots of minerals in the soils, but since we're not following the best farming practices and mass producing some agriculture without fertilizing well, etc., we wind up with mineral deficient foods. If you wind up with mineral deficient foods, you wind up with, or soils, you wind up with mineral deficient foods and mineral deficient humans. And we do testing to check your mineral levels at Body Chemistry Associates, and our Body Chem program has been doing this for 36 years. And so I know by looking at different mineral analyses that there are long-term consequences to these deficiencies. And also one I failed to mention with chromium deficiencies related to blood sugar imbalances and type 2 diabetes. So when these minerals are deficient in the soils, the food supply becomes deficient, and if we're not supplementing, even with just a good multivitamin, multimineral, then we wind up mineral deficient, and then over time that can begin to contribute to different symptoms or different disease states, and then people sometimes seek us out to find out why. And when we do the analysis, it's pretty obvious. I remember one time Dr. Oz came on and held up 2 Brazil nuts, and he said if everybody in the country would have these 2 Brazil nuts a day, it would protect against many cancers. And that was due to the selenium content of the Brazil nuts. But if the Brazil nuts were not grown in a selenium-rich soil, then they don't have enough. You might need to eat 4 or 5 or 10, depending on where they were grown. So it really depends on the soils. They're so important, and they're not been taken care of. We find that people who live near glacier soils in like Northern Europe, they often have higher mineral contents than people, certainly in this country. Down here we have high calcium in the soils. In Florida, South Florida, we're built on top of coral rock. So lots of calcium, which most people don't need in the soils, and that blocks out magnesium and some other important trace elements. And one mineral we see deficient in most people we test, very deficient, is manganese. And that's just one of the trace elements that they could be putting back in fertilizers that they are not. So in our mineral analysis, we find that out. We do a mineral analysis of the hair for that. We do blood chemistry to look for metalloenzymes or copper enzymes and zinc enzymes and reactions that require selenium and things like that. So we have an overview and an overlap of information, and then we're able to recommend specific nutrients if we find these deficiencies on what you need as an individual. We've been doing it for a long time, 36 years. So if you'd like some information on our Body Chem programs, you can give us a call at 1-800-CHEMIST. They are offering a special if you say you listen to this audio podcast. They'll give you 10% off either the supplements they have there or the Body Chem program of testing, where we find out what you need and then make specific recommendations for diet and nutrients. More information on our programs at Body Chemistry Associates, 1-800-CHEMIST, 1-800-243-6478. On the web, 1-800-CHEMIST.com. This is Jay Foster for Body Chemistry Associates and Health Connection Radio. Be with you on a future blog on a new subject.